Welcome to our meeting. I'll declare a quorum present, call the meeting to order. I need to announce that the planning board meetings are broadcast live and digitally recorded. That's required. Introduction of members, we now have name tags, but I'm Alice Livedall, Chair, Francois Steiger next to me, Craig, John, Jamalia, and Craig Bosno. Bill Holman's is absent tonight, and Josh Dubois is our associate who's here tonight. And Christina is our administrative assistant. If you wish to speak, and I know some of you have signed in, sign in whether you do or don't want to speak, but for those that have indicated they want to speak, we'll call on, start the meeting with our public comment session, and ask you to stand and identify yourself, and we may not answer your questions right away, but we're interested in what you have to say. So I know that Ed Blanchard wants to speak, so we'll start with Ed.
Ed Blanchard at 23 East Common Pond Road, Hubbardston. And I am back because, maybe about 6 months ago, I had a big, huge interest in two things. One, having anybody be able to place a large solar farm on any district in town, residential and that. The same holds true for marijuana growing establishments. They can be anywhere in town. And I would like to ask the planning board if between now and the next annual meeting, you would take another look at both of those, and I've provided some information before about what other towns do around us, and I guess I would like to think that we might be able to do them in the commercial district or have an overlay district that would make sense, so that a basic homeowner wouldn't have a nice $300,000 home and all of a sudden next to it be looking at half an acre, full acre solar farm. And with that, I'll leave you with all this information that I've collected that you can choose to take a look at. And I've asked to be on the December 4th agenda, but I appreciate your listening tonight, and if you could give that consideration before the next town meeting, I think it would give good protection for people who are resident in the residential districts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're thinking about those issues. We've heard you a little bit. All right, anybody else wishing to speak tonight before we move into our agenda? All right. So if not, we begin with our package, which is minute approval, the October 2nd meeting, which was the Habitat for Humanity guest speaker. We did a lot of other things that night, but if you've had a chance to read them,
I have.
I'll take a motion.
You guys need some time, or?
Nope. I'd like to point out, I'm sorry, point of order, I want to make sure everyone did in fact read the note that due to a technical difficulty, these minutes were compiled not just from the recording, but also from the chairwoman's notes.
I certainly saw that. I would like, is there a technical problem?
Oh, no, you're fine. I
Okay.
just was getting a little distortion. I wanted to see.
Okay, should we hold on for a second?
No, it's totally fine. It's just, I want to get best quality
Okay,
possible.
great.
Thank you.
I would like to put forth a motion that we accept the minutes as distributed this evening. The minutes for the October the 2nd, 2019 meeting that took place when we had the folks from Habitat for Humanity and a number of other guest speakers. So that's the motion I'm putting forth.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion, corrections, comments?
Nope, I looked at them.
Okay, all in favor of approving them?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The next item on our agenda is listed as Mr. Schmidt, who is not going to be here tonight, of his own request. When did we put him on for?
He's asked to be moved to the 20th meeting that we have later this month.
Second meeting, okay?
Second meeting of the month. Somewhere I have some notes on my own agenda copy. Wait a second. All right. And this brings us up to Craig, say your last name.
Well, I'm
Weld.
Dawn Warfield,
And I'm here for Craig Kiowa.
Kyla, okay. Donna Warfield, all right.
And I was in here in 2018, I don't remember the date here.
The
And
sit-
the planning board signed off on an A&R lot as well as,
I'm just gonna grab this out from under you so it's not lost.
and the Mylar was lost. It was misplaced and not found. And the new Mylar has been done by Brian Zopp with, I believe, what the board requires to put on here because it replaces, I know Christine, you had left me a message, and this plan is an exact copy of the original plan certified by me on December 21st, 2017, and signed by the Hubbardston Planning Board on February 21st, 2018. The original plan was lost.
I did get a hold of the Worcester Registry of Deeds and asked what needed to be on the replacement Mylar for them to accept it. That was what they requested. So, this is an administrative action to re-sign this document. The original signatures were on the A&R submitted in 2018, which I found the original of, that were signed and reviewed by this planning board. No further review has to be done by this planning board. It is an administrative action for you tonight to re-sign the A&R. Sorry,
Christina,
I'm
did
dropping
you-
things.
Did you compare them?
I did not. That's why I asked
Okay.
for the signature of the surveyor, that these were exact copies. Because that way, if something were to
Okay.
happen further down the road,
Okay.
Brian Zock has under his signature attested that this is an exact copy of what was signed in 2018.
Okay. Well, and that's allows without any advertising again, because there's no
Yes.
change.
Because it is administrative action, we don't have to have a public hearing because this A&R has already been approved.
So I don't think we need to go through our 14-point checklist.
No, but, I mean, for those of us who are new as part of this planning board, we're not part of this A&R, can we get some context as to what was very specifically drawn as part of this A&R?
Tell us a little bit about your plan here.
Exactly.
So the plan
And
that
it's
was
just, I apologize to
approved-
interrupt here, it's
That's
just that we
okay.
have new members of the board that were not part of this original one, it's just, we're putting a signature on
Okay.
something.
So this was a larger parcel. It consisted of 33 acres. Lot number 1 was sold off first, and I don't have the exact date on that. It was subdivided, and it met all zoning requirements, so it was,
And this is in Mount Jefferson?
this is on Mount Jefferson Road. And then this parcel was broken off over here. It has a house. This is the remaining land. And this is actually in the process of being sold, therefore we need to record the Mylar in order to be able to sell it. So this met all of the zoning for Hubbardston to be able to, the planning board to originally sign off on it. They went through the checkpoint list and everything met what needed to be met.
And how many years ago was this?
2018.
Okay, not too
It
long
was,
ago.
it was
February.
February 21st, 2018. The sale didn't take place back then as it was supposed to. The deal fell apart, the Mylar got lost, and now we have a new buyer, and we needed to do a new Mylar.
Where is 33? I live on Mount Jeff.
So
Where is
right at
33?
So
Yeah.
do you know where the pond is, or the?
Yes, the fire pond?
The fire pond,
Yep.
so 33 is right before that,
Okay,
up on the hill. It's,
Okay.
looks like a little log cabin.
so that's the edge of the pond.
Yep,
there.
this is it right
Okay.
there.
All right.
Yep. And then the farmhouse is over here, 34 Mount Jefferson Road, and then you get up to Malone Road is over here.
Right.
Yep.
All right. We don't have any authority to change it. They're not asking for any changes.
That's
It's to
fine.
correct an
And I-
error.
And I
so-
appreciate you putting some context on this here.
And
No problem.
so
you.
with the current planning board will sign, usually what we've done is cycle around the table and hand the pen around, so.
I'm just putting the date on. You're going to have to, this is the only Sharpie I could find.
Do we have a thin one? All right.
No, she did not bring one, so. Yes, it is, just make sure you catch the edge.
All right.
Thank you, we have one here.
Excellent. Hey,
Woohoo!
thank you.
Oh, somebody found one. Thank you so much, Brittany. There you
Yeah,
go.
we
The
appreciate that.
sign was better.
Say the cops brought it.
This this one even is kind of a paintbrush, actually.
This fell out, so you were
Oh, thank you.
pushing your copy of it.
All of my paper clips, I apologize.
Christina,
Thank
we're
you.
supposed to sign all of these?
Yes.
Okay.
It's good practice.
I think that might be good.
Thank you.
Is it not coming through? Good, okay.
Well, not on the first one, which is the Mylar itself, but these paper ones, yeah, I think it is kind of coming through.
Thank you.
And what time is it?
Two ships crossing.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greg. All right, well, good luck with your project and the
Thank you
sale.
very much.
Okay, and I just need one of those. Thank you.
Welcome. So, next on our list is actually Debbie Winchester, who was thinking about buying a lot on Main Street. And I guess she has decided not to buy that lot. So
she's not here.
she's not rescheduling, she's just, it's an item
She's
that's dropped
withdrawn.
off the agenda here.
Regrettably, it happened after the 48-hour window, so I couldn't change the agenda at that point.
That's the
And
little
then-
building across from Mr. Mike's, right?
It is.
And then our next people, the Marinelli Prue, am I saying that right?
Yes.
They said they were gonna be here in response to, they're one of the gravel pit owners, to talk about maybe some plans for that, but I don't see them here. So they may show up, and meanwhile, we'll jump ahead and hear from Mr. Talby about the organics, Casella Organics, the
Odor
odor
control.
update on your plans.
I apologize for missing the last meeting. We had a family livestock emergency at home and completely forgot.
All right,
I'm
you're here tonight,
I'm here, so
and
I
you
just
were,
want to give you an update on our planning process.
yes,
So our internal engineer is still developing the odor control plan, and has some money set aside for odor control with some other projects. We've dedicated some to this project. We haven't trialed it on another project yet, but we intend to do that. There's been some processes at the paper mill. Their dewatering process has been improved dramatically with the quality of paper that the white office paper that they take in, and the odor is dramatically less. So we've really had quite a change in the last 4 or 5 months. So that's a great thing. So the odor control plan is still being formulated as far as how exactly it's going to unfold. but we're out of our season anyway here.
Yes, I know that.
So, we have time. The other question I have, Bill, and part of the order of conditions is the SWIP or SW, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. That kind of surprised me. I got a quote for that, and it came in at almost $18,000 to do that for this site. So that, I wanted to just have a question. They're calling for many inspections, like weekly inspections, and Bill called for 4 inspections. And I just wanted to, run this by you. There's the cover page to it. The
These
cost,
folks their name is familiar with me. Can you tell, but
they probably do some solar sites in town. They're an environmental engineering
engineer out
firm.
of,
Amherst.
Are these not the individuals who also analyze the
They did
contents?
yes, they did the,
That's how SWCA comes to
Yes.
my mind.
yes.
did they give you an explanation of why so many?
Yeah, it just says they call for weekly inspections.
Have you, I hate to like override Bill, something we've agreed on without at least letting Bill know.
Yeah.
And you're not in a super rush,
No,
right?
no, I just
So if
wanted to show you this, to say this was kind of like a surprise to everybody at the cost.
We're not looking for you to, I don't know why Bill would say 4 was enough and then they say every week.
Right.
Was there a misunderstanding? Was there communication? Was it verbal? Was there a
What are the
written?
explanation?
No, in here Bill calls for 4 inspections, but I've never done this stormwater, we mainly do agricultural sites, so this is
Right.
new. I've never worked through one of these processes before.
Yeah.
So this is the first. This is the first time SWCA has given me a quote, and I was just like, wow, okay, that's,
And when you went back to them, did they tell you why they thought it would need a weekly inspection?
apparently that's their routine method.
Why don't we, I don't know whether Mr. Murray knows these people or anybody there.
Yes, he does, he's
Why
fine.
don't we refer it to Mr. Murray, and if his recommendation is that there's a couple questions here, one of which is, will they take the job if we were to say, okay, 4 is enough? I don't know. And the other question is,
Well, when I showed this to my supervisor,
Yeah.
we have an engineer in Maine that does these in Maine.
okay,
So he said he would come down, which I'm a little worried about because he's short on time. But we have time here. So I just wanted to say, we may be doing this internally. That hasn't been determined yet. If I can get the number of visits down, that puts that into a more reasonable price. Right now it's at almost 17.5
Mhm.
For
18.
18 visits. The project wouldn't even last 18 weeks, so this would be weekly visits after the project is completed.
May I?
sure, take a look.
So, I just wanted to ask, Bill, about the number of visits. And if it's only, because our person would have to come down here, he's obviously not gonna come down 17 times.
Right. So did Bill just say, be sure you have a stormwater plan? I just
Yes.
don't have it. Okay.
Yeah,
I have no problem asking Bill. And if you got a copy and you don't mind me showing
no,
that to him,
those are extra for you. And you can ask him, just look at that, give me some
Ma-
feedback on that.
and give us yeah. And then, so I'll do that. I'll have Bill talk to you
So I think
on behalf of us, if that's all right with the board.
Yeah, I think one of the important questions to ask is this a regulatory requirement? What that is, if there is a regulatory requirement from a frequency perspective, is what I'm
Yes.
saying, right? If Bill says it's 4, but they're saying from a regulatory perspective, it's required to be X, whatever that X is, that needs to be determined, number
Right.
one. If Bill says no, or where is it stated, maybe there was a miscommunication between himself as well as with SWCA.
Okay.
Where in their mind, they thought, well, yeah, we're gonna be there every week, because these guys are gonna be there every week. So it sounds to me, this is just a matter of communication, first of all.
I hope so.
Let's get some clarification. And then if the number comes down to what Bill originally had indicated,
Mhm.
I'm assuming that this is a number that can be easily divided
Right.
into something that is, by 18 multiplied by 4 instead of
Right.
the full
Or if
18.
they're not willing, another company might be, as long as
And
it's
then
not, yeah.
that is the other
Okay.
question, is
And-
are they willing to do it for 4 times only or not?
And if it's 4 visits, our internal engineer would do the project. But like I say, if it's going to be this large number, he doesn't have time for that.
Okay, and then the next question would be, is your engineer qualified to be able to do it here in the state of Massachusetts,
They
right?
claim they are.
Okay, and
And
that's.
we can, we would obviously submit that information, but
So what you're really looking is we could make like a motion to refer, Jim Talby's request to Bill Murray, to determine whether this many visits are really necessary and report back to the board.
yes.
His opinion and report to you at the
Is
same
the
time.
motion really required, or is it just an
Yeah, we
instruction
should
to?
prob-
What do you thought? I mean, I'm willing to put a motion
Sure,
together.
put a motion in. I like to work by
So I'd like,
motions when we can.
that's fine, so I'd like to put a motion together that the information that was provided to us by Mr. James Talby this evening regarding the SWCA environmental consultant firm's requests for a review for the storm water pollution prevention plan, that this information be submitted to Bill Murray at Places and Associates for review and determination as to whether or not there's any additional conversations need to be had with SWCA regarding the frequency.
Second.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So, can you do that
I'm
for us?
sorry, I wasn't looking up. Craig, did you say aye?
Yep.
Thank you.
No, you said no.
Okay, we'll get back to you.
Absolutely.
Feel free to check in with Christina,
Thank you very much.
and
Thank you.
otherwise,
You want
Good to see you again.
Good to see
she'll
you
be
all.
here from us. She's very good about catching up. Thank you, yeah, it's good to see you again. Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hello. They're signing in over there. I'm sorry, I'm a fairly new, we are a pretty new board, actually.
Yes.
So you-
Congratulations to everyone here.
Thank you.
Well,
It's such a pleasure to see a
They're-
different,
They're here for the
We're-
Marinelli
we're-
pit.
yeah.
we're working hard on gravel pits and how many there are and what to do with them, and so which of you is Mrs. Marinelli?
Well, I'm Ann.
You're Ann Marinelli, and you are,
I'm Louise Pro.
and, okay.
Louise, yeah.
And the two of you, are the co-owners of this property,
Yeah,
or? You can give them a copy too, so they can see.
I have to make more copies.
Oh,
Oh. That's all right. This is confusing to me, where your land lies. So I had our administrative assistant, Christina, put together, and I want you to see it too, but where your land stands in comparison with the other lands around, and particularly, there's the Commonwealth of Mass, there's the City of Gardner near you, there's some land we own. So I just wanted to understand that. So that's this, and you can look at it and maybe help us understand it too. She's gonna make a copy for you. Hope that's a color copier. Okay, so for the rest of us, you can follow the key here.
Yeah, the yellow ones are the ones that are, so it's 8, 11, 12, 13, 34, 36, and 39. And there's couple of, well, I don't know if these are joints or not, or,
They are.
Looks like there's
They
a
just, the
small
numbers
part.
just
So-
didn't come through.
okay.
So would you say, come up and sit at the table with
Yeah.
us.
okay.
And also you'll get picked up by the speaker that way.
Oh, okay.
Cause you came in later and I did announce, our meetings are recorded
Okay.
and broadcast. So we try to get your comments if we can.
Okay.
So,
Well, we got a lot of them.
so but just before we begin, is this accurate? So if you're the yellow, are you have a piece that's like, there's a piece owned by the City of Gardner in between your,
What it is you see this orange?
which one? The
This
one in the
little
middle?
one up
Yes?
here next to 34?
Yep.
Okay, that is the state forest,
Okay.
okay? And we own 39, 35, 36, and then the two little ones here, one's 37.
Wait a minute, go through that again. You own
Okay.
39.
We own 39,
Yep.
35,
Where's 30? Oh, the pink one.
yeah, the pink one.
So what?
It says brown.
No,
Says
that's
brown.
Oh, brown,
Yeah,
oh,
brown.
geez.
Yeah, all the yellow is-
Yeah, yeah. well,
The
we
yellow,
got
we think you own the yellow
Yeah,
ones
we do,
based
we
on
do.
research. So see if that's right.
Okay, yeah. So it's 39, 36, and then the two little ones, 37. I think it's
There's one
37.
more.
Yeah, 37.
Cause we have 8.
Mm.
We
Looks
have
like
8
1, 2,
parcels.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 highlighted there.
The little ones just don't have numbers on them,
Yeah,
so
and
they
I
must
can-
be
I
30,
can look that up, 1 second, I have it here.
okay.
And then
Well, is it
34.
33? What's the other number? that
I
we
have
own?
them here, give me 1 moment.
36.
Okay.
Sorry. They just wouldn't fit in there very nicely, so.
2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 parcels.
So one of them is 37.
Which is that one? The long skinny one or the
I
square one?
can't tell you right now.
All right,
but I can tell
37.
you one is 37
Uh-huh.
and the other one,
Well, 37 is not even on here.
No.
That's right, it's one of the
this one.
because
unnumbered.
it's that's because it's at, the number was too small to fit
Oh,
on here.
okay,
Mm.
okay.
So I can tell you 1 second, let me just tell, and I can tell you what those numbers
It
are.
looks like it's not like this here. This 37, or this one 37?
I'm
I don't
looking
know,
it up
I'm
right now.
guessing. She's gonna tell me in a minute.
Well, if there's 8,
Sorry.
and we're only missing 37.
And this is the Gardner line, the town line, the dash line, or is that the map edge? Do you know?
That is the map edge.
Okay,
That's the town of, well, it's
That's the
the edge of
Gardner.
Hubbardston.
okay, so that's the town boundary.
Yep, that's my property's right there.
There's a small little sliver, that triangle that has, it says City of Gardner, that,
However, that does not abut the city of Gardner. It's Templeton on that side, but the city of Gardner owns a piece of Hubbardston.
owns a piece of.
I don't know why.
So is any of your,
Cool.
your land in Gardner or other towns, or is it all in,
We abut Templeton, and we
Templeton.
abut Gardner too, don't we?
but do you have land in Templeton or
Okay.
Gardner? No,
That
it's all
little
in Hubbardston,
Strip on
okay.
the bottom is 37,
Okay, I guess
and the one
wrong.
that you're seeing on the side is actually a part of 34.
34, that's what I thought,
It sort
okay.
of curves around
Yeah,
right
it's like,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
it
Oh,
goes around.
okay, I see, it is kind of, has a little elbow, okay. All right, not that that's terribly important. So tell us about the Commonwealth of Mass land, is that State Forest number 10?
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
okay. So you own on both sides of the state forest?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and the town owns 57?
57.
57,
Yeah.
okay, and the road that 57 abuts is 68, right there?
No,
Oh,
this
that's
is
Pitcherville.
Pitcherville Road.
That's
Oh, this is
Pitcherville.
Pitcherville,
Pitcherville
okay,
Road.
I guess I should have known that, but,
It didn't quite come out.
okay,
Did my best.
But this is
You did
Gardner Road
good.
right here. This is the one that
Yes.
goes all the way up there.
okay, Gardner, so to exit, to get into your land, you have to go through this town land?
Yeah, we have,
Okay,
there's a cart road that goes, goes over your property. It starts, I don't know where, it starts, and it goes over town property into our property, and it hooks a little bit onto Brown's property. Then it goes through the state forest onto our other land in the back, and then it goes out on Whitney Street, and it keeps going to I don't know where.
but you don't own any frontage on Whitney Street?
No,
No, but
So,
we.
so
we-
literally, the only way into this is through the town land?
Yeah.
Okay. We actually, not the rest of the board, but I have, the town manager, had Travis, the DPW director, and me come out, and we looked at 57.
Mhm.
So I do have sort of some concept, but it was very difficult from the site to see
Mhm.
where everything is. So now, is some of this already in solar, or the land that's in solar back there you've sold to other people?
now the solar
This
is not our property at
Yeah.
all.
That's
At
under-
all.
That's
No,
landmark.
Yeah.
Solar farm, okay, and you didn't have any part of developing that, that was never your
No,
land?
mm-mm,
Okay,
absolutely not, no.
That was owned by Piet, I believe, yes.
Yeah.
And then Piet sold it to,
Aho.
oh no, Dolphin. It was originally, I think, owned by Dolphinaise, and they sold it to Piet. That's where the solar
yeah,
farm is.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, I had somehow gotten the impression that you owned that land at one
No.
time, but not ever owned.
No.
Okay, all right, So do you have any idea, last question, then I'll let you talk, is how many acres are involved in these?
Well, the whole thing, the front part and the three in the back,
Yes,
it's about 140, 138, somewhere around there.
okay.
Yeah.
Acres, which is a huge tract of land.
Yeah, and then the one, three in the back, it comes to about, like, let's see, what's this one guy? It's about 38 acres on these three parcels in the back.
Okay.
11, 12, and 13.
13, yeah.
About 38.
It should show it on the,
Yeah, I can get it, I just,
bill, the tax bill.
when you said you were coming in, I gave Christina a quick assignment, because I said I really need to know what you guys are talking about. All right, so, of all this land, how much of it is excavated gravel pit right now? Do you know?
Okay, well, there is, 39 is our entrance. Okay, so that is all, it's not level or anything, because it's our road and it's a slant, we come down.
But it hasn't been
It hasn't-
excavated?
No, no.
Okay, so
no.
39 is not excavated? Okay,
34 is, because we had a wash plant there and a screening plant,
okay,
so 34. 8, there's been nothing. We haven't done anything.
it's just
with-
woodland?
Yeah, it's more like a swamp, it's a swampy
Oh, it's
area.
wetland, probably,
Yeah.
okay.
And then 11, 12, and 13, we haven't been back there, except there is material taken out of there. And
Okay.
we don't know who did it. My brother passed away in '04, so right after that, he passed away at the beginning of '04, and then he that's when he died, and then this digging started at the end of '04.
So
And
it
I
wasn't
don't know-
authorized by the family?
No,
We didn't even know
we
it,
didn't,
actually.
yeah. And
until
then,
recently.
so what we did is, we just found out about it, so I went back to the databases and Google and Earth and all that, and I found that in '04, that's when it started to look like somebody was digging in there. And then we kept going forward, and it kept getting bigger. And then there was a road that comes from 12, comes down onto 11, comes right over to the Fallon property, and comes out onto 68. I haven't got a clue how that happened. But there-
Really?
And what,
Yeah.
and when was the last time that you recall that any work would have been done on that property?
Well, it started the year my brother passed away '04, and then, let me see, I kept going back, cause it kept getting bigger, so I kept going back
Well,
and
actually,
back.
this is something we just found
Yeah,
out.
yeah, so I'd say maybe.
we're trying to investigate and see what, like, how this happened, because I think, because if we didn't, I don't know, how did you even think about this?
Well, I talked to one of the neighbors,
Oh, okay,
and she
okay.
told me.
What is Fallon LLC? Fallon, maybe I'm saying that wrong.
Well,
Is
she doesn't live there, she lives, I think, in Carlisle, but she has this area that they had done all reclamation and everything, and, they train dogs, they have dogs
Okay.
that are, you know.
Okay, so were never in the gravel business.
No, but
No.
at the end of their property, there is something which
Yeah,
is.
I think that, I think they have someone watching their property. Tommy Christopher, I think, watches the property, but he said he had a gravel pit in the back there. So I don't know where, or the Fallon pit, but I don't know where his gravel pit is.
And who owns 19? 19 is other. Do you know who owns?
Who owns
Who owns
19?
behind you here?
That is Fallon.
That's Fallon.
Oh, that's Fallon
Yeah.
too.
Fallon is
Okay.
those whole
Yeah.
strip.
Yes, and see how
It just says other here.
it goes down
Okay.
per
That's right,
property?
Yep.
Is there, and
Oh, I
then right
see.
next to that is us.
Yep.
So, you know, it's close.
Mm-hmm.
Does the excavation that was done on the Fallon property, I'm trying to figure out, was it just an abutter that went too far?
Well, see, what I understand is the property used to be owned by Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews used to have turkeys and goats and animals and everything. He was a
Okay.
farmer, and because we used to buy our turkeys from him, and he also owned that land there that was the Fallons. And
Okay.
he owned that little house that was like set back. Now I think that it's torn down.
Yes, instead of
Yeah,
torn down.
and then somebody had gone in there and they started taking gravel out on the Phelan's pit, which was Andrews at the time.
Okay.
This guy came in. What was his name? Steve Lowe.
Steve Lowe.
Yeah. I mean, this is all that we really know.
But
And-
he may have been, Andrews may have told Steve Lowe he could take gravel.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't know.
You don't know the
We
story.
don't know. We don't know. Because Andrews had just his farm. He was just farming land and everything. And then all of a sudden they started taking gravel out. And then they did, then when the reclamation did, this Tommy Christopher is the one who did the reclamation, and these people bought it. That
Fallon.
have the dog thing that trains
Okay.
the dogs now. But Tommy Christopher does have a gravel pit he set in the back, but I don't know where his pit is. And I don't know how he even, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, because I don't go back there.
No,
so-
How
Where-
big is the excavation, would you say?
Well, we noticed that there was a lot of material taken off, and we just found out because of all this here, that when we went to look at the map, I mean, it's obvious when you see it, because, it's an aerial map, and you look at it, and all of a sudden you see, when you put where our property is there, you see that material was taken out, and you kind of see the road and everything on this map. So, I mean, I haven't been physically on it to see it, so
Did you think your brother maybe authorized it before he
oh,
died?
no.
Well, all right, tell us,
Because we knew he didn't go back there. I mean, we never went back.
And
how long has it been in the family?
Since the
It's since
sixties.
1960 we've been there.
He bought him in the sixties, all different parts.
And did you farm it? Was it originally farmed?
No.
The family, you just
It's
bought it
always
as
been
a,
this. Yeah.
We used it as a gravel pit. My brother, used it, but we only did it in small amounts. We didn't really do big amounts of anything. So.
and when he was pulling small amounts out, was it also from this area?
No,
It was from the big area?
Yeah. because the area, these three in the back, other than that big, whatever it is, that's the only thing that was taken out. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't take any material, because how could we get out? We'd have to come through the state forest.
Sure. The rest of the area at this point in time, other than the scarred area on the earth, is that wooded or is that not wooded?
Which one, the three in the back?
Well, yeah, on the three on the back, you indicated
12,
that
and
11, 12, and 13, you indicate there's an area that has already been
Yeah,
dug
yeah,
up and some
yeah.
gravel has been removed.
Right.
But not the whole area, just a
No.
piece of it. So the question is the remaining area, is that a wooded area? Is that a?
It is,
It is
yeah.
a wooded area, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's a smaller, I shouldn't say smaller, there's a subset of that lot that has been actually exploited for
Whatever.
gravel or whatever else that they got out of there, okay.
That's right, yeah.
Of the
Right.
38 acres, how big would you
So-
say the excavated?
I apologize. I was able to finally bring my computer up.
Oh,
So can
nice.
you see it? Is that what it is?
That's what it is right there.
I've actually been back
we
there
have-
many
Which
times.
spot?
What we have is we have
you been down
11,
there?
I live right near there, and
12
then there's
and
trails that
13.
go back to those
11
pits.
looks untouched.
I've walked back
Okay.
there many
12
times.
looks like
What about
something
trucks?
happened
Can
here
we-
and went
trucks
into
But I
here.
moved in 2015,
Okay,
and I
yeah.
haven't seen any trucks or recent excavations
So
since
this is what we're
2015,
looking
but
at. I
wasn't there in
apologize if you
2004.
can't see
Yeah,
it.
so actually
Show
12,
them too, so they can see. Is
12
that the picture you were looking at? Because what
The
she's
11
saying is,
looks basically untouched, but then
Yeah.
12, it
Yeah.
looks like something happened on the Phelan
Yeah.
land
Yeah,
and went over this way.
yeah. And
Yeah.
see how the road comes out?
Yeah, it
Comes
goes like that.
down,
Yeah.
Where
and
does it go
comes right
to?
off of onto
It goes right on to
68.
68, kind of near my
There.
house.
so
Down that
somebody
way.
got into it through 68.
Yeah. Well, they would have to have gotten it because there's no other way unless you know, if you go onto our property and then, you know, you'd have to go through the state forest. And I mean,
Okay.
it's all,
And then it comes on to
So
our
have-
property,
so-
34.
Have you made an effort to like secure that area so there's no more excavation where the trail
well,
comes
we
in,
just
or?
found this out. I mean, we've had signs up there, no trespass and everything, but the kids come with their bikes and they rip our signs off. And I don't know how many times we put signs up.
There is a gate over there too. I'm just not sure if it's on the fall line property or on your
I
property.
think it's on
But
ours.
there's a gate there and there's a gate at 68.
Yeah.
Because I think what happened is I think that I think Tommy Christopher takes care of that property. What I
Yeah,
recall
except
him
like a
saying,
caregiver. I don't
because
I don't know what he does.
when we started this reclamation, we went to Tommy Christopher because Tommy Christopher used to work for Resource Management and did the reclamation. And he did the reclamation of the Phelan property. So we went to him to ask about the reclamation.
Yeah.
So he took us onto Phelan property,
Okay,
and every so many feet, like we had to go through a gate.
Yep.
I'm saying, my God, what's in this place? I'm thinking all these gates. And we go further, and then he'd get out and he'd open a gate, and then we'd go further, and there'd be another gate, and then there was all these gates there, and it really is beautiful over there. I mean, they did a beautiful job. And at the very end, I think there was his gravel pit. That's how we know we had a gravel pit back there.
which is still working?
But I really
Or-
don't know. I mean,
No.
I really
No, it
don't
should
know. And I
be.
shouldn't even say he has a gravel
No,
pit, but I
that's a
know he
huge
said
chunk
that
of
he
land.
had a pit there.
It's taken.
I've been there since
So how did-
2015. There's been no
That's
change since
gravel
2015.
pit.
I live right there. I've been back there many times, and there's been no change since I moved in 2015. In 2015, there's been no change.
I mean, I know that.
Okay.
I know years ago that Steve Lowe, if you look back on your records, he was taking material out of the Phelan pit, which was Andrew's pit. It was actually
Okay.
Andrew's pit. And I know he was taking material, and then there was problems about him taking material because it was farmland and this and that. And I know there was something going on, but I mean, I don't really get involved in all that stuff. So I
Understand.
didn't know, it's just like what I heard. And,
Do you have plans with regard to that lot, what you'd like to see done with it?
which lot?
These, I'm talking right now, the 11, 12, and 13, is it
The gravel pit.
your intention to sell it at some point, or
Yeah, we would like to.
market it? Have you, it isn't actively on the market now.
No. No. We're thinking of selling everything. I mean,
Yeah.
we tried to, get a permit for the front part, and that was a disaster.
A permit to extract more gravel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we
Because we had to
wanted,
do the reclamation.
yeah, we had to do the reclamation. So in order to do the reclamation, you know,
We
what do
had
we
to
do
put
with
it-
all that material that's there? So we were gonna sell it, but, didn't work out that way.
Okay, tell us a little bit, it seems like it isn't such a big issue with the 11, 12, and 13 perhaps. You could market them separately.
Yeah.
You do have to do some kind of restoration. And we'd have to get our expert and Bill Murray involved to evaluate it, cause we're just lay people on this board, but, you know, maybe you possibly could get a person that was interested in buying it to help with the reclamation as well.
But
So-
how would they get in to do the reclamation? I mean, first of all, I don't even know what it looks like. I don't know if there's a slope. I have no idea. I don't know if anybody's been there. If you have seen it back there, we don't even know what it looks
Well,
like.
Yeah,
this
we're just-
gentleman did. He
Oh,
lives
have you
right
been
near,
back
he lives
there?
right,
I've been back to the
How
11,
big
12,
is-
and 13 many times, and I've been back to the other ones a couple times as well.
How big is the excavation area on the,
On
on
11,
this?
12, and 13?
Yeah.
4 or 5 acres at least. It's
So
a big
it's
one.
sizable.
It's sizable, yeah. But I don't know if, because from that picture, it kind of looked like it was split in half, where some of it was on Fall Line and some of it was on theirs.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much is on Fall Line's property and how much of that excavation is on theirs. But it's a sizable area.
Okay, so you're guessing out of the 30 acres, at least 5 or 6 acres. Okay.
And is there a slope or is
To
it
get
flat?
there on the road, no, it's flat to get there.
Oh, but I mean, is
No,
it
the
like,
gravel
you
pit.
know,
Yeah.
Like, is it just a hole?
No, it's not a hole. It's like a mountain that they took half of.
oh, so it is a mountain?
Yes.
It,
mhm,
it,
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
So it's like sloped?
Yes.
So this path that goes through it, does that exist anywhere as a right of way to anybody? Is
Well,
it,
I think that there's a way, the cart road goes out to Whitney Street, and I think we can, I mean, I really don't know how.
Well, you can walk from our property through the state forest and get over on those three properties and then come out on Whitney Street.
There could be a right of way if you guys check the deeds. There might be a right of way on one
Yeah.
of these other
Yeah.
Kind of
properties.
easement.
Well, there is
Yeah.
a cart road, they call it a cart road, but it is a right of way,
No,
and it goes
walking trail.
over, it's,
okay,
over, it's Pitcherville Road, it goes over town property, goes into our property and a part of Brown's, and then out over through the state
And now,
forest
like, all
and
the
out.
roads are gonna be
to
just
Whitney Street.
overgrown.
Yeah, well,
so it would
the
seem
one
like
back to this
that
area
would be
is
the only
fine.
path to get equipment in
It's
there
fine.
to,
But you have to go through.
get
You have to go through Fallon.
Through the
right
cart
off
road?
68.
Yeah.
Till turn down there, and then there's a big gate,
couldn't-
and then you
it'd be
keep going through all
impossible.
that, and it
The
takes you
only
right to
way
another
I
gate
think
before you
could
hit.
get it is
the
the same
mini
way
pits
that
there.
they,
We call it the mini pits because it's a tiny.
they took the material out, which was through 68 onto the Phelan property. Whoever took material out, whatever happened there did not happen. We did not do it, and it did not happen, okay? By going on to Whitney Street on the cart road.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen going in over our property, you know, the town property, the cart road, into our property in the front, through the forest, state forest. It didn't happen that way.
so how did you think they got
I
access to
think
it?
they the only other way is what it shows there, there's a road onto the Phelan.
Yep.
It had to, that's the only way it had to happen.
Yeah, but it was probably before they bought it.
And you know,
'Cause-
unless somebody has a helicopter or something.
Yeah, because I was.
Well, I'm
I
just
was in
thinking
my
to
house
get
when they bought that
equipment
piece
in
of
there,
land
then
for
you'd
the
have
dog
to, like,
training facility.
get
Bought that and reclaimed it.
Yep.
Can I just ask,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds to me that there's two separate items here. One is what has now been discovered, which is on 11, 12, and 13.
Mhm.
And then there's the existing pit that everybody recognizes, the
Yeah.
one for which you, at one point in time had, either a parameter you were working with,
Yeah,
and has since been closed down, which is the one which is really on 34.
yeah.
39 being really primarily an access into it. 37 and 36 seems to be, I'm just trying to understand and trying to, what is 36 and 37, was that also utilized as part of the gravel pit? I mean, there's smaller lots here. Were those parts of the pit too, or?
Yes.
So
Yeah, well,
37,
all
36, and 34 would all have been as part of the operation.
Yeah,
Right.
all this here
And
was.
8 is wetland, so
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah,
would have
we
happened
didn't do
there.
anything there,
Okay,
no.
gotcha. So 39, there really is nothing there that was taken out, is that?
Yeah, that there is more like an entrance to come into our area. We had to give Pitcherville an easement that is on 39, cause they would come in through 57, and then we had to give them an easement at the top of 39 and crossed over like a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then come down onto their pink, which they're,
So
and they,
this is to the Browns.
this is the brown, yeah.
Okay,
that's
so
what
the
we
Browns,
did.
Is
okay.
that gravel pit? The
I don't know.
Browns?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
but
was a gravel pit.
That's another gravel pit, right, that we have
Yes.
on
Yeah.
record, okay.
They did the reclamation on their
Yeah.
Oh, they
gravel
did?
pit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's been
Not the
reclaimed.
whole thing, because they haven't done our
Oh, so,
slopes.
yeah, that's another issue.
Yeah, that's another issue.
What happened is when the Browns were in our pit, they were digging up against our pit, and you probably see this big cliff.
There is a cliff
Okay,
there,
yeah.
yeah.
So they were digging and they undermined, and our trees and everything were coming down onto, so now that's how we got that big slope there. And, what happened is he was on a permit, and we weren't, because we were grandfathered, we were non-conforming use from 1960, but he came in the 80s. And, he got a permit, and when he did the reclamation, he was supposed to do our side too, because we were at the abutter, but he didn't.
Then he still owns it?
he still, well, he owned his pit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
But, so we figured that when we did our reclamation, we have to deal with that. So we have to, that's why there's a lot of material there, because we're up here and he's down there, and that has to be all, and that was in our plan when we applied for the permit. I mean, it was really a shame that we got denied, because nothing now is done, and that could have been, I mean, it's been a couple of years, and that could have been,
When was the last time that this pit was active?
it was it 2013? It was,
No, it was 14.
no?
I think it was 14.
14, it was not 14.
Oh, wait a minute.
So-
Wait a minute.
Okay,
Well, we had sold it. And then, he had gotten a permit. He's the one that got the permit. We never had a permit when we owned it. And, so we had sold the property, and he had gotten the permit, the people who had bought it. And, then we ended up it was like about a year and a half or something, we had to get the property back, because he wasn't paying us.
okay.
So
So,
he
but
deeded it back to you, or you took it back
We
before?
foreclosed on him,
Okay.
on the mortgage.
So either 2013 or 2014 was last,
Was Morris alive when,
I don't think so. I don't know,
I'm trying to think if he was alive,
Uh,
because he died in 14.
Yeah,
No, he was alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember, I mean, I have to look at my records.
okay.
It
Well,
seems like it's been
our
forever.
law reads, and this is that if a gravel pit is discontinued, it has to be reclaimed.
Yeah,
So, just from our planning board perspective, what we're really looking is for a restoration plan. Now, whether you say, I can't understand, you're saying there's this huge amount of gravel, but you're gonna need some of that gravel to do the restoration. And you're saying there's extra gravel, or?
well, we have quite a bit of material there. And in order for us to reclaim our property, we have to really get a permit.
Have you?
I would do,
I mean, I hope you could come and see it.
we would do that.
So, yeah.
Yes,
We would do a site visit.
Yeah.
But it could be that you could talk, if the only goal in removing material is so you can do the reclamation, maybe you could get somebody to do a reclamation plan for you,
Well, we had
and
that
then
all
maybe as part of that, a certain amount could be removed and sold, I don't know, but we're not the experts, you guys have to come up with a reclamation plan.
We had the whole plan of what we were gonna do. We have had an engineer. Well, we applied for the permit, okay? We would've never went through with this here if, first of all, we had a person, we can't do it, okay?
Right,
We were trying to get the right person to buy our property that would be good for the town of Hubbardston, that could actually do what is supposed to be done there, and that's including the reclamation and run it like the gravel pit. So, Mr. Vinnie there, he went,
Mr. Ritchie?
he
Mr. Ritchie.
told us to he says, you already had, the other guy had a permit, he says, and we can't deny you a permit because you've been there since the 60s. So just go and just update the permit, and that's what we did. So we went to the engineer and we updated the permit and made a few changes and everything, and we presented the permit. So it just did not work out. And then we had, this wasn't right and that, and so we kept on going back and forth.
Can I just ask for clarification? I mean, when you say the permit, you're talking about the reclamation permit.
No,
No,
reclamation for a gravel removal permit.
So it's to initiate the process for
Because
removal.
we did not
Gotcha.
get a permit, but when the people who bought it got the permit, okay? And I don't know if the permit was good for 3 years or something, whatever it was good for, I don't know what. And then, but before that time, I mean, he'd only been there for about a year and a half when we foreclosed on him. So he still had this permit, okay? And, but then the permit ran out and we had to renew it, okay? So he says just to renew the permit, because we had a permit from the other person, and just updated. And so that's what we did. We went to an engineer and we did it. And it's just they wanted this and they wanted that, and I don't know. It was just it wasn't.
understand.
I mean, he said that.
Who was the engineer you went to? The the name is not so important. I'm just wondering if they're still in business and it was
Oh,
a
yeah,
reputable
yeah.
person.
We were we came back and forth and back and forth.
Why don't, if you went back to him and said, the
And he-
town's looking for a restoration, is a restoration at this point, can you put a restoration plan together?
But it's
What would
in
he
the
say?
permit. You know.
Yeah, but the permit would have expired by now, cause their
But
time,
we
they're,
never got the permit. When
Okay.
we presented to the board what we wanted to do, all the reclamation was in there. And they didn't like this about it and that about it and the turtles and the this and that, so we have to change things, okay?
okay,
So that's what we did, we changed a lot of things. And it kept on going back and forth until it's what they wanted, okay? And the reclamation was in there of how we were gonna do the reclamation and everything. And at the very end, we ended up not getting the permit. So I'm saying to myself, I can't believe we've gone through all this here, all the time and all the money and everything. And they ended up denying our permit.
So at the very end, after going through this iterative process with I'm assuming you're talking about the planning board, that this was, right?
Yeah.
So after going through this iterative process with the planning board, at the very end, they denied you the permit, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
And when was that? What year was?
There were 23 denials
yeah.
they wanted us to fix.
And we were willing to work with.
And what
the-
year was that, if I may ask, that you had that took place?
What is this, 2000?
It wasn't too long ago.
No, it was about
It was
maybe
a
2
couple-
years.
yeah, a couple
21st
years.
of 17. of
17?
February.
Have you
Okay,
got it?
2017,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. I mean, Greg had just come in, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When this
Yeah,
was
and
going
he-
on.
Frank is your,
You mean Craig?
Craig.
Craig, oh,
I'm
Craig.
sorry, Craig.
Okay.
Yeah, he had just come on the board when we were going through
I
this.
still have all your information.
Yeah.
You do? Oh, I'm gonna read it at night.
I mean, the thing of it is this fellow who wanted to buy our property, who was gonna do all the reclamation and, do all this here, we really searched to get the right person for this, and he had a piece of parcel on 68. So what he wanted to do eventually is he wanted to build a road to come out on 68, so he didn't have to go into Pitcherville Road.
Okay.
And he wanted to see if he could put some, he was really, he was a businessman, and he was trying to bring some businesses into Hubbardston, but I know the planning board, they were anti-business, and they didn't want businesses, and I know that they really didn't want a gravel pit. So I know they were trying to shut us down, and that's what they did. And I really believe that the whole purpose of all this here that we went through is because they had intentions of shutting us down. They didn't want us there.
Okay.
And because they didn't want gravel pits and
So at this point in time, if I may, Mr. May I ask, what is your personal goal with regards to the two? You think about the adjoining lots. You've got one set which is 11, 12, and 13. The other one which is 8, 34, etc. What is your goal to do with that?
Well, we wanna sell it.
You'd like to sell
We
it.
wanna sell all of it.
Okay, and you have, at this point in time, you do not have a prospective buyer, or do you have a prospective buyer?
There is somebody who is really interested in the back, the three parcels in the back. I could sell
For
them to-
11, 12, and 13,
Yeah.
there's somebody who's interested in
Yeah.
that, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
and
So now we know, however, that in that parcel, there's been also some gravel removal or some
Yeah, but
material
they-
removal.
They didn't do it because they don't have that equipment.
No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
is that we now know,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
before we didn't know,
That's right, yeah.
that there is now this
Mm.
issue that has now been raised.
Are they aware of it, your potential
Yes.
buyers?
Yeah,
And they're willing to buy it anyway?
yeah, they wanna buy it anyway.
Will they do the restoration as part of the buying?
Well, we haven't gotten that far, cause we just found out about it. In fact, they were the ones who told me about it.
Okay.
They called me and told me.
So what are you looking for from us, basically? You came here to
Yep.
talk to
I
us, what
came
would you
he-
like?
oh,
Well, 'cause we
yeah.
sent them a letter.
yeah, that's what
They
I
got it,
said,
yeah.
Right,
Kind of-
about reclamation, correct, yeah.
Right.
Because we don't know what to do.
Okay.
you know? I mean,
We can't do it,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we're
Yeah,
elderly.
yeah,
And I wanna get out of this
We understand.
business.
yeah.
We
Could
understand.
you-
know, but I want the right people to go in here,
And we appreciate that.
yeah.
Could we perhaps suggest, the town is looking at 57 and what to do with it, which they own. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. Speaking for myself, it seems to me that if you came back to us with a plan for 11, 12, and 13 that included restoration within the next month or two, especially if you've got somebody active in doing that, that would be a good starting point. And in the meantime, we may be able to get a little piece of more information from the town with what they're gonna do with their pit, which may affect your reclamation plans
For the front.
for the big pit.
Yep.
Do you wanna, which is, I'm not giving you a pass on that, I'm just suggesting a
Yeah,
process here.
Yeah, because we don't know what to do, we don't know what the
I mean, you know,
best thing to do.
nobody will buy this unless
Yeah,
they
they're
could,
not gonna buy
you
it.
know, get a gravel permit. And I mean, we
But-
could have went on a lower scale, because we've got this material and we can't, I don't know how we're gonna, the front part of it, I don't know how we're gonna reclaim it. With all this, just the slope alone,
I know, it's a huge,
there's so much material
You
there.
have to see if you can go
I
up
mean,
and see it,
cause you know,
it's-
we're up here and
Yeah.
everything
and
else
it's
is-
not just in the front.
Yeah,
As soon as you come in, it's not right there, I mean, it goes way back. It goes way back, and we call it the snake area, and it goes down to where Pitcherville is back, you know,
I mean, you know, you can stand on the top of our pit and just
Yeah.
look down, and it's really scary.
I remember,
And it
yeah.
has to,
Yeah.
the material has to
Yeah.
just come out, and, I mean,
but we need a plan.
Yeah.
But we
And I know
have-
you have a plan, that's why I'm thinking maybe you could go back to the same engineer, and he could explain better to us. And maybe come up with a different plan, I don't know, but we will go on a site visit if you like. We can't do it in
Yeah.
a snowstorm, I think
Yeah.
that'd be good, we could
I
do
mean,
that.
we'll take you, you know, we'll
Yeah.
go with you and,
If-
show you around.
But I do think if you've got an active buyer for the 11, 12, and 13, before it gets to be any bigger project that's willing to take it on and
Well-
bring a plan to us, that would be a good first step.
so if they buy it, they have to do the reclamation, and we have to do the reclamation, either one?
It's really supposed to be you that does the reclamation.
Yeah.
But it could possibly be done as a,
But how do we get a truck in there to do reclamation? Can you answer that?
That is a conundrum right now,
It is
because
a
you do not have access into that land right now. There is a road there, or what appears to be some form of a path, but it's not on your land.
No.
how
So-
did they get it out of there?
I don't know.
Well, clearly somebody must
Well,
have,
see,
It's
we're
not big
wondering.
enough for heavy equipment either.
No.
It's a car, like a pickup truck would fit through the path, but
Yeah.
not.
So
a
how
big
did they
dump
get
truck.
5 acres of
I
stuff
mean,
out of there?
when you get reclamation, it comes in a trailer
No,
dump.
it's literally
you-
a dam
Well, we
on
just had
one
the
side and a
gentleman
pond
here
on the
from,
other. It's
you
a
know,
narrow
from-
path with a
from,
gate, and the gate itself has two big
The
posts,
Tasto.
which isn't
Yeah.
wide
the
enough for a dump truck
Catastos,
to
I
fit
mean, the gentleman who, as a matter of fact, was here talking with us, he's actually
I can't
doing the
confirm or deny that.
reclamation.
Is it possible it went
But-
into Templeton?
Well, you know, I'll tell you,
Yeah, I think so.
It's I mean,
sus-
Templeton looks like it has clearing on the other side. of
I
Hubbardston
suspect,
line.
I mean, I'm looking at some of, and again, this is old aerial photographs, and I don't know how old they are, with overgrowth,
You
and
can
it's
look-
very hypothetical. But there is what appears to be in Templeton, a very large scar on the earth,
Right here.
and
And it's right over the border of
Yeah.
Hubbardston into there.
you know who that area is? That's a gigantic gravel pit there.
Yep.
And that is,
Ferraris.
yeah, it's not Ferraris, it's,
No.
what the hell's his name? Dave Richards. He owns
Oh,
that.
oh, yeah, they
And
used to be
that was my
Ferraris.
first thought.
Dave Richards?
Yeah,
But it used to be Ferrari's pit.
yeah. But I thought at first, when I looked at it, I said, that little guy, he just went over there and went right over property. But I don't think so, because there's a lot of, trees and forest.
I
and-
don't think he can get on
Yeah.
it.
Unless there was some significant overgrowth in the last few years, there's the only
It's
path in and
possible.
out of that mini pit is the one that leads onto
I mean,
68.
In 5
that's
years,
on
you'll get a
Damon's
tree this
property.
big.
Yeah. So I think,
Well, you may have to negotiate for some temporary access, and maybe they'd work with you as in a butter. I don't know, it depends
I
on,
would check out that pit next door.
Well, gentlemen, we got a lot of,
Yep, so where do we
How-
go with
what do
this
we
here?
gotta-
Meanwhile, some of that, some
Yeah,
of
drone, I'll
that
fly it up.
pit is
My
not
guess is there could be a-
ours. Do you know what I
maybe a
mean?
secret
In
No,
other
we
words-
understand, there's a,
I don't know.
there's a portion of it that's in the Fairline
rocks or-
property,
Yeah, yeah.
correct, and you're not responsible
There
for
was
that.
like a
Yeah,
lot of
okay.
trees
You are
and
responsible,
stuff and
however, for the pieces that,
a
that the
slope,
piece that
slope and
is,
stuff, so I-
you know, that
first I thought it
scar
was
on the
an
earth that
I-
is
when
part
I-
of what I
but
believe looks like,
then I looked at his
lot
property
number
and-
12.
Yeah, so in other words, so he
But,
has
you
to
know, you never know.
restore, he has to do the reclamation on his property, right? On the
Well,
Phelan's.
we don't even know if Fairline had a quote-unquote pit or not, right?
We have contacted them about that one. They have been in contact about that pit.
That
Because
pit.
the pit is divided between the two lands. So I
Okay.
did send our letter to both to
Okay.
both them and to the Phelan, because I didn't know who had started the pit, but it looks like it was a joint pit, or maybe one side went over onto the other side's
But
property.
it was a pit that was never registered, right?
A lot of these weren't necessarily quote unquote registered. It was just a matter of aerial photography corroborating
okay.
the concept that these were gravel
Yeah,
pits.
Right.
but they may have predated our gravel
Would they
pit
be
laws.
responsible if they didn't do the excavation?
Well, if you look at the records, okay, how that might have happened too is because originally Mark Andrews had I was telling you, he owned
Yeah.
that property there, and he had the little house there, and he also owned that farmland, which is the Phelan's, okay? And then that Steve Lowe went in there and started taking material out. Now, I don't know if Andrews was involved in it, I really don't know, but I know Steve Lowe was taking material out of there.
Out of the Fairline.
Phelan's,
Okay.
Phelan.
With
Okay.
their permission.
Well, I don't know I don't know anything about what agreement
Okay.
that they had, but I know that they were taking material out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have happened, okay, when they were taking the material out of the Phelan pit, okay?
Not
Because they
understanding or
weren't-
knowing where the boundaries were between the two properties and the,
Yeah, and they might have saved that section
Right when
back
he bought
there
that.
and
Shortly
not
after it
done anything with
new
it.
people bought the
Because
Phelan property.
they did all the reclamation, perhaps.
so I think
All the reclamation that they used to do Phelan's pit could have possibly came from the back there where we are. You know, cause they needed the sand to mix with the reclamation.
Yeah.
This is what I'm thinking might have happened.
When
But they would have no authority to take the sand
The
without your
reclamation
permission.
occurred after I moved in, and there was no change to that small pit since I
Okay.
moved in.
Oh, really?
it wasn't
Okay,
that,
so
that
that's-
was
okay.
yeah.
so I think we're working with a lot of hypotheticals in terms of, we don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah, we don't
So
know.
there's no
Yeah.
factual information, evidence, or anything of that information
And,
that
you
we
know,
have.
it's not gonna
We
be
do have,
easy.
however, a problem. The problem is that we have an area that at this point in time, which is on what appears to be lot number 12 and also number 14, but number 12 is in regards to who you are and who you represent, that needs to be worked on, especially since you are interested in potentially selling 11, 12, and 13, right? And so the person who is interested in purchasing this here, their intention is to use it simply as what?
As just
Recreation
go
facility?
through,
Just-
yeah,
just
just
land.
walking through and
Yeah.
riding and
Recreational
having a-
facility.
Yeah, having a picnic and.
Okay, so the question here would be is from a reclamation perspective, how to reclaim that land, there's some challenges because you don't have access. So the question would be is can access be established or achieved, at least on a temporary basis? Like very similar to what their Cataises are doing. They have a company who's coming in and they're helping them with the reclamation. And I'm not suggesting that that's the right way for you. I'm just simply saying that's the option that they chose. You would have to find something similar to that and or make an agreement so that you can get that done in order to be able to potentially do not only the reclamation but get it in good order so that it could be sold. And I don't know if there's any other not caveats, but there's any other ways that this can be done prior to a sale or post a sale. That I don't know.
Was there any permits pulled on those 3 lots?
No,
No.
no.
Never,
That was clear.
not
yeah.
even way
No,
back.
the only permits we pull is those.
It's on
ones.
34.
Yeah.
34, 36, and 37. So we got two problems, or two situations. I shouldn't say call them problems. Two situations. One situation is the 11, 12, and 13, which it sounds to me you have potentially a buyer. He might be. They may be interested. The question will be is to what extent are they interested in doing this here? how would you reclaim it, specifically with the challenge of having access to it. We're not here to tell you how to get access to it. I mean, it sounds to me, because it is landlocked, you have either an option of looking at talking with the Finellis, I'm sorry, with the Phalines,
Yeah.
and seeing if they would grant you temporary access so that
Because
some
it
form of
goes,
reclamation could be done. Or if you could maybe even, and I don't know if this could or could not be done, through the town of Templeton. Because there is what appears to be a pit in the back there, and obviously there must be some form of an access. Maybe there is an easier way to access that from that perspective. I don't know. But I would suggest that we let them know that that is maybe an option for them to look at.
Yeah, do you think you could come back to us, maybe in the next month? And talk to, at least just limit the discussion at the moment to 11, 12, and 13
Just to move that
with the
forward.
plan?
Yeah, it's just I'm going to Ohio over my
Well, how
son's
about-
house.
How about,
Whenever.
how about in January, 2
after-
months, 60 days?
Okay.
Yeah,
60 days, come back with a plan,
yeah.
Okay,
for restoring or selling whatever is necessary for 11, 12, and
Or
13?
just give us a progress report
Yeah, okay.
in terms of where you stand.
Yeah, okay.
Now, the thing of it is all the material that's going to the Phelan, okay, cause the material is on, that has been excavated on Phelan, if you look at that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, because it shows our property, but it also shows Phelan's.
Yeah.
So it's on Phelan's and it's on ours.
I understand.
So who took it, whoever took Phelan's took ours, okay?
We understand that.
So.
Do you know the Phalans?
However they're gonna do theirs, they could do ours.
Well, I mean, we are,
Yeah.
we have, I mean, I understand from Christina that Christina has reached out to the Phalans,
Okay,
but they're a separate entity.
okay.
And so you're not Phalans,
Yeah,
Phalans
yeah,
is
okay.
not you, and vice versa. So
Okay.
I think the thing is that we have two separate entities,
Yeah.
each with their own lot, each with an own situation. Ideally, yes, we could reclaim the whole area, especially since it's adjoining. That would make a lot of sense. I personally don't know the Phalans. I don't know if we have any communication. I don't know if you have any communications with them at all.
No, we don't.
No,
Alright.
like,
But it may behoove them
yeah,
Work with you.
Yeah.
to look at the problem jointly and say, well, if we get access to both of our properties, do reclamation and do it, say, for example, a la what's happening with the Cataisis. And again, I'm not suggesting you go that route. I'm just simply saying, you explore an option that is mutually beneficial, because now the access can be done either through Route 68 or some other facility,
well, I think the person who watches the property is Tommy Christopher.
whom I
Okay?
don't know.
Yeah, and he's the one that, I think had the gravel pit in the back. So maybe we should just call him.
I think,
Because he's the one that watches that property. The Phalans own it, but she's, I think, a professor in some college in Wellesley or something.
Okay.
What I
well, you can bring
understand.
him in to speak with us,
Yeah,
too.
so I think that, but he's the one that watches that property, he keeps an eye on it.
And what's his name again?
His name is Thomas Christopher.
And
Can you-
Does Thomas
And
live,
her name isn't Phelan, it's something else.
does Thomas Christopher live in
He
Hubbardson?
lives in, as a matter of fact, he was on the planning board in, where was it,
Leominster?
Leominster?
I think it's
Or
Leominster.
Lunenburg or something?
But he doesn't live on that property there. There's no,
No, he
there's no,
doesn't live there, no.
okay,
There's
he's,
no house
No.
there,
And
and all
he-
it is grass.
he's like a caretaker?
He's the caretaker, yeah.
There you go,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, well,
Trying to think of that word.
can you come back in 60 days?
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
be our
Okay.
January meeting. What's
Yeah.
60 days from now, Christina? roughly?
The meeting, in January will be on the probably not the first.
No,
I don't know if the board will elect to go on the 8th or the third week, which is the 15th.
You wanna say January 15th, that gives you time to get back from
Oh, yeah.
Ohio and talk to everybody?
Okay.
So
Francois is
we'll,
not here then.
What?
Francois is not here then.
oh, on January 15th.
So,
Well,
yeah.
that's okay, you
Just
gotta
letting
get
you
started
know.
somewhere. If you can come back to us on the 15th and report on the sales situation, the neighboring situation, maybe go back and try to come up with a plan. Did the engineer look at these two at the time? No.
He didn't look at the back,
Okay,
no.
all right, just
No, 'cause
work on the back, come back to us
Okay.
Okay.
with hopefully some kind of
Yeah.
plan and some access to it. And in the meantime, we'll try to get some information on what the town is doing with theirs, and maybe we can move
Yeah.
forward with that too.
Yeah, okay.
Just
Now-
chunk it up.
Okay. So,
You know, have
we-
two chunks and work it independently.
we
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
move to other
Yeah,
items in
I
our
know,
agenda.
Okay.
I know.
So-
I did want to ask you a question at the front of it. If we had somebody who would do the reclamation and who could, is there any possibility we could apply for another permit? Or is that just,
There is a permit process.
Yeah.
Anybody can apply for
Yeah.
a permit that can make it, and the permit process has to include a reclamation plan.
okay, we
But it
understand
won't
that.
be, it can't just be anyone. There are like bonding requirements.
Oh, no, I
We're
know.
very
Oh, I
serious
know,
about the
I know, I know,
groundwater
I
and
know,
stuff.
I know.
So it isn't that we've prohibited permits.
Yeah.
We've just made it, we really tighten the rules about,
Yeah,
you can't just take,
yeah.
you can't
No,
just
and
take
we-
it with no plan.
Well,
Yeah.
we
So-
understand that, and like I say, that's the only way that we can reclaim that. It's not that we don't wanna reclaim it, I mean, but, you know,
But you
Are
gotta
you-
find somebody with the wherewithal
Yeah.
to actually run a gravel permit
Yeah,
and meet all those requirements. And then the restoration plan has to be embedded in the permit.
yeah, and it really
So-
would be good if you could take a ride out there. Are you the engineer, the new engineer? No?
Associate member.
That's right, yeah.
okay, well, if anybody
Congratulations.
wants to come out, you know,
Yeah.
notify us and, you know.
We have
we'd
their
love to
contact
show you
information,
around.
right?
I have
Sure.
an email address, that's
Oh,
all.
good.
Would that be
So
all
I
right? You
can
check your
Oh,
email?
number, I'll give
You
my
can
phone
call
number.
too.
Okay.
781
You know what I wanted to
891
ask,
7865,
7865.
you
it's
know
Ian.
the,
and Louise
the
is,
gate,
781 272
just,
2569.
you know how you said you saw a gate?
Yep.
Now, there was a number on it, was a DEQE or
Yeah.
something?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
I believe that's on our property. So how can you look up anything about that?
I think you'd have to have an engineer come out to do the property lines to see where your property is, and they'd have to use GPS positioning and figure
Yeah,
out where your
but I mean,
property lines are.
if I wanted to call
Mhm.
somebody,
Mhm.
who would I call and how would I
To
go
do your
about that?
property lines?
Any
Same time?
engineering firm.
Right, any engineering firm can do the property lines and stake out your property.
Oh, okay, but I'm just trying to find out who got that
Surveyors.
DEQE, whatever it's called.
Oh, so you're asking who put the DEQE number in there?
Yeah,
I would call the department, it's environmental,
That
Well,
would be
yeah.
part of the state
You can-
property,
Yeah.
I would think, so that might be assigned for the state property abutting your land.
You can call them and you can say, I'd like to inquire about this number on the sign, and they can
Yeah.
give you information about the project.
yeah, okay.
Okay?
Okay,
All right.
great.
Thank
Thank you
Have a
so
great
much.
night.
We look
Thank you for coming.
forward,
Thank you.
we look forward to seeing you
Oh,
in
and working
January.
with
It
you.
was great
And-
talking to
And
all
we
of
may,
you.
we may come for a little visit.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
See how the weather holds out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Thank
Sounds
you.
great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
We're gonna resolve it. May
You
take a
know what?
while.
I think you guys are gonna see.
All right. The problem is that Christina leaves in 10 minutes.
Okay,
and
yep.
Because she has to leave, so, benchmarking, can we do benchmarking in 5 minutes here?
I can?
I'll be right back. You continue.
Okay, no, I don't know that we can continue. I have a motion actually for this drafted as a. So,
The meeting can continue in my absence, I will just, shut this down and I'll take the rest of the minutes from the video, I just, for, family reasons, I have to leave
We
at
understand.
8 o'clock.
I understand, so,
I'm gonna give a brief overview of how this data was accumulated, is that all right?
I don't know about the one person being absent.
Never mind, we should wait for Craig to get back.
So,
And should we also wait for Craig on the master plan historical chapter vote amendment?
well, I'll give you a quick rundown of what we're gonna do, maybe, cause I think we can do that. The problem with the master plan, which is the next thing on the list,
Yep.
is that I had asked Mr. Hume, because I thought it was a great idea, to, we voted it, which was to include a list of the farms. You know,
Yes.
the plan include this, and it turns out that that is not available data. It's, they just can't get it through the Department of Agriculture, and people don't want it published. So all we have to do is to revote, is vote to remove that amendment. Okay, so that's what that's about.
Okay,
The correspondence, there's nothing we can do with the special permit because it's being updated.
Yep.
And we
So
can't take it up.
say that it's going to be on the December 4th yet, not until it's complete.
So that's why the question mark, right?
Yes.
But you're gonna complete it, you're gonna get to us.
I believe I sent you the waiver earlier.
I do not have an email from you with regards to that.
Interesting. Who did I
T-
send it to?
Close the link with her again, but not right here in public, all right?
Yep.
Because we cannot deliberate on it.
Nope, understand.
So the Deb Reed is just a letter that was inquired. She was a
And she was there
Streeter
at the
Road
meeting.
lady. She did come when we met with the select board Monday night. And she wants to be involved, which is wonderful. She's obviously a good organizer, and I'm happy to have her. So that's what that's about. The open meeting law violation was in the packet, which dates back to while Tom was chair, he forgot to announce that it was being recorded. And so we got kind of a warning, saying don't do it again. So you all help me make sure we never do that again. Town,
That was just town notices from other towns
Oh, from other
regarding their decisions and other meetings that they have. Those have to be circulated to the board, and as correspondence, they are included in the notes.
Which we did receive as part of the
You
package.
did as part of the package, and also prior to the package, you received them as separate emails. I usually
Yep.
send them out to the planning board for your review.
okay, and then you can go through quickly through correspondence.
Okay, notification, the gravel pit letter was distributed. As you noticed, we did have the Marinellis come in response. We've also had 2 other responses which were not on the agenda. I have not circulated those to the board yet. One of them was from Landmark with regards to the solar pit. They have been made aware of the fact that once they reclaim that in 20 to 30 years, they must also make a gravel pit reclamation of that land. It cannot just be the regular reclamation of a solar field. It has to be to the specifications
pit.
of the gravel pit.
Was there ever bond on that property for that?
I believe the bond is for reclamation. It's not necessarily for reclamation to that standard, but yes, there is a bond associated.
So like the
with it.
Kataistos who had a bond,
Yes.
they did not?
They did.
For the gravel pit or for the?
No, just for the solar.
Just for the solar, but not for the gravel pit?
No, but it's the whole thing is like if you
It's
look at the
all
property lines,
tied
it's
in.
right up to the edge of the line. So it's all of it is basically a solar farm at this point.
They didn't bother to rebuild soil. It's just sitting there on the sand.
Yeah.
That was
Yes,
one
so
thing
that
you could
they have
see.
to now, they are now
So-
aware that when they take those down, they have to reclaim it to the level of what we expect from a gravel pit, not just from a solar farm.
So my question though is I mean, we can ask that, but there's no teeth.
Actually, it is. It's in their original specifications that they have to do it to current regulations, and I was making them aware that the current regulations state they have to do it to this particular
So
date.
that would mean that
we have a signature on file.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So,
And therefore the bond that they currently have
Yes.
basically would entail
Yes.
that too, gotcha.
Right. Okay, decision for, the Campbell Scenic Road application was distributed, it was sent to all concerned parties. That's it.
Affordable housing, I can give you a quick update on. Christina's leaving in 5 minutes. I don't know.
Would you like me to just review what benchmarking was? It was all emailed to you?
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
The benchmarking data was brought in from each of the members, and what I did was I took that data and I ranked it, basically giving everything an equal amount of, the attributes that were discussed in the meeting, none of them were said to have a higher priority than any of the others. So with regards to providing statistics for this, I just grabbed the data and then divided it out by the 7 topics, those being amenities and arts, business opportunities, municipal services, open space, schools, town center, and workforce housing. They were ranked in that manner based on how many fields were filled out. So some people would say they'd have a 3 or a 4, but then they'd have an NA. The rank is based on how many fields were filled out, meaning if there were only 5 filled out, the total was then divided by 5, so that they didn't lose extra points for the NA. However, you'll notice I have a weighted rank in here. And because those NAs were in there, I didn't want it omitted that those were not filled in. So the weighted rank is based on the fact that there was so much data missing.
Yeah.
The only reason it was included in there is I wanted to make sure that the board understood that not only were there fields missing on specific lines, but sometimes entire lines were missing from the data. And that's why there is a weighted rank and a rank. You'll notice that the 5 top towns for our benchmarking data are approximately the same. The only difference you'll notice is Sterling and Holden. So that will be for a matter of vote whether or not you decide to go with the top 5. I only highlighted the top 5 because I didn't know which ones you would be voting on tonight, how many you would be presenting. And the next step in this data is to vote on what you feel is your benchmarking data, and then to decide on a meeting with the select board and finance committee to finalize what the benchmarking data for the town will be. This is not the final numbers for Hubbardston.
So, going back to the beginning of this, the assignment was for us as the planning board to come up with 5 towns, or a certain number of towns,
Yes.
and we sort of settled on 5,
Mhm.
that we would most like Hubbardston to look like the towns that we admire, that we should be progressing towards.
Yeah, like an example
And
that
I-
we should be moving towards.
Right.
Or from.
So,
Or from.
and I didn't want it to be, my point with the chart was that I didn't want it to be just like which is the prettiest center, which has but to have across the board set of criteria
Mhm.
that took that all in consideration. So this is not perfect, but I think the rank means gives you the weighted rank, just sort of tells you the reliability of it, because it just could be one person's opinion or 2 people's opinion.
Mhm.
But the rank based on what we had
Yep.
is a fair representation of,
Yes.
so I think that what we need is to make that our reference group, and to send it to, we'll be sending it to Ryan, and then Ryan has had the finance committee do a similar thing, only theirs is much easier because it was number based, right?
Yeah.
And this is opinion based, so it's difficult to maybe do it, but I think it's time to move it. I know Ryan wants to go ahead. I know it's not a perfect data set. So I think we need, now Christina, help me out here. So I made this motion thinking it was in the right direction. Tell me what you think, and then somebody else can actually make that motion if you like. But it would be to move to have Christina send a letter to the town administrator with our benchmarking results of the 5 towns we think Hubbardston should strive to be like, and explain the methodology we use to develop the benchmark technique and the reference group. So it would include what towns we considered, what the rating criteria was, and that we each rated independently of one another, right? And then send that in saying these are our final towns, and that would be the ones in the rank list, not the weighted rank list.
Mhm.
And then ask the town administrator to set up a joint meeting with the finance committee and the select board to discuss benchmarking.
I would like to put a motion together.
Okay,
That's okay?
yes, is that along those lines?
I think we're fine, and that we have a quorum for this year. So
We do, I think we need to move along.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
I have to leave,
I-
so.
that's fine. So I'd like to put a motion together, which basically is to take the table that has been so aptly been prepared by Christina, and to provide that data and information to the town administrator, and for him to review it with us jointly, along with the finance committee, as well as with the select board at an appropriate time in the future.
Are we going with the weighted rank or the
No,
rank?
we're going just with the rank, not with the weighted rank.
Okay.
So the table minus the weighted rank, okay?
Okay.
Plus any explanation that, plus any surrounding explanation to this here.
Then I
Sec- Second, go ahead, John's got the
I second
second.
that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Alright, good job,
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
She's gotta get her little girl,
I have to go
so.
get my little girl.
Yep,
Trying to put
we'll
this
see
up
you,
in-
thank you very much.
thank you for doing this.
So we actually are not doing too badly, because we did have a lot of vacancies.
Yes.
A lot of skipped over things. Let's see. Don't know, was Craig planning to return?
He said he was. He
Said
left
he
his
was.
stuff here.
He said he'd be back, but continue without him. he
Yeah,
said.
his bag's here. He's coming.
So did you wanna cover the affordable housing, what took place?
Yes,
I think
we should cover affordable housing. It was quite the night.
I thought it was very good, yes.
It was good. And I also have, if anybody wants, so, a copy of my comments, because you had wanted them. A copy that night, I know I didn't have. So, here's a copy for you, and if anybody else wants, it's the speech that I gave to them. I have speech in quotes, but the talk I gave to them about why we need affordable housing and what's been done in the past and how far behind we are, and pretty much that I kept you in line with, and told them that that we had actually taken votes to ask them to set aside those 4 lots on Ragged Hill Road
Would you
and
please
to-
email me a copy of that?
and to take a vote to allow us to proceed with Habitat for Humanity North Central Region to evaluate one of the lots for suitability.
Absolutely.
So we got that far. There was a lot of back and forth. There's clearly some interest in selling those lots to private people. But I think in the end, they were pretty persuaded. They didn't actually take a vote because there was this gentleman, who was sitting right there in the back, who had been on one of the affordable housing committees. And he got up and he said, I think this has already been voted, that these 4 lots have to be devoted to affordable housing in an annual meeting somewhere. Nobody in
2015.
2015, he said specifically, but nobody had a firm recollection of that. And I've actually read the town, so I went back, they're online, looked at the town, I actually looked at the warrants. I didn't read through the whole minutes of the town meeting. It was not a warrant article.
Right, and if it wasn't a warrant, then it
So
wasn't
I
voted
think
on.
it would be, I think his memory is incorrect there, but Christina's gonna look it up, Ryan's gonna look it up. But that's why they didn't proceed to a vote, because you can't, if it was already dedicated, they couldn't,
Right.
at a town meeting, they couldn't undo it. So I've gotta go back possibly next Monday and see what they say.
Okay.
But they seem pretty receptive, actually.
And we were invited to come back in December because we expect at that point in time to have some further discussions or follow-ups on this here.
Right, and if they actually take that vote before, well, it is almost December, but they take the vote, I'm looking for 2 votes. One, save the lots, at least one of the lots, but hopefully the 4 lots, and to authorize us to go with Habitat. And I've been in touch with was that her name? Carolyn Reed,
Read. Yeah.
who is really anxious to hear from us. She's very excited about it. So, that's the update.
Great.
Francois was great. Francois actually started out in affordable housing help
Yes.
many years ago.
Excellent.
So, I think that helped them, but anyway, so that's where that stands, and I'm happy to, actually, put that copy in the record if you want of my thoughts. All right, training, I wanted to say this about the training. So, it's CPTC, and I'm sorry I can't tell you what that acronym is, but they're trainings for, planning board people and various planning matters, and I got this, remind me about John Hume in a minute, and we'll go back and do that. But I did get a course curriculum schedule, and I am thinking of going to the seminar, anybody could join me. These are on fair housing, interests me, and zoning overlay districts, which is kind of knocking on our door. And these are held in Leominster. The zoning overlay district is 6:30 to 8:30 on Thursday, the 21st. So it's coming right up.
Is there a cost associated with this?
There is. It's $35.
Okay.
But anyway, I thought the other thing Christina says is you can get these people to actually come and talk to us.
Right.
But I thought if I went and heard it, anybody else can come too. And if it was really insightful, that's $35, right?
Yeah.
But to get them to come here and put together a conference would be like maybe 200. I mean, we could invite area towns.
Mhm.
But to see just how relevant it is, I mean, I'm sure it's worthwhile, but it depends on whether it's really relevant to
Yep.
what we want. But I think that issue comes up. Todd Miller's raised it with respect to business districts, putting smaller business districts along 68, which would be an overlay. And you heard tonight, there's a lot of interest in doing that with solar.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd go, and
Yeah, no.
if it's really good, I'll bring them back to you guys, and we'll spend the extra money.
Can I
I
ask,
think that makes sense.
so the dates that are currently in the near future, because some have passed, right?
Yes, this is 11/14
For the fair housing.
for the fair housing and 11/21 for zoning overlay districts.
And there's
But then they do
there's
repeat.
There's an 11/12 for the zone overlay, or 11/21.
21, yeah.
Gotcha.
But they're in different places, so you don't wanna be going too far, right? So these are the
So
ones
they
that
do
are in
these things, like,
Leominster.
once a
Oh,
week?
I'm sorry, where are these then? Oh, that's in Lowell.
Lowell,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right, yeah, Leominster seems to be the
All over the
closest one
state,
for us.
I guess so.
So anyway, I think this is actually in somewhere in your email.
It was, I
Yep.
did see that.
Yeah.
Somebody-
So if you guys wanna sign up, I'll probably try to go to both of them.
Okay.
Maybe that's ambitious.
two-
I will at least,
they're
if
two
I have to
different dates.
choose, yes, the 14th and the 21st. If I have to choose, I'll go one or the other. I'll go to the zoning overlay.
Yeah.
And if I go, I'm just gonna pay the money, but at some point I may seek reimbursement from you folks. Okay.
I would think that would be fair.
We need to, I know I'm jumping around, so forgive me. We need to go back and redo this historical plan vote, because Mr. Hume we can't get the farming list, and it's holding up the chapter now of the master plan.
We need to get Craig again.
Or can we use the associate member to be the fourth vote?
Well, we have 3 of 5,
We got three, we have a quorum.
All right.
so I think the minutes could reflect he left, he returned.
Yep.
So,
So having a quorum at this point in time, I think would allow us to go ahead and do the vote.
yeah, you wanna just make a motion?
Let me look at it where it is now. So at this
It's-
point in time, Mr. Hume of the MRPC contacted the planning board and informed the admin that the request for farms be included has run up against a privacy issue, so that the board needs to revote the historical culture chapter to proceed without the data. I'd like to do is I'd like to put a motion at this point in time that we vote again on the fact that the historical and cultural chapter will not include the information that we at one point in time had requested to be included, namely that the list of the farms are not to be included as part of the master plan of historical chapter vote. I'm sorry, of the master plan historical section. So that's my motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No further discussion. All right, what have I skipped?
And you explained very clearly earlier, it's just that information is just not available, so we need to vote. so
Yeah,
as
they
not to
won't,
include it.
there
Makes
are
sense.
listings of the farms,
But-
but the agency will not give them out.
Exactly,
Due to
so-
privacy concerns
Yeah,
and,
I never considered that, but it's true. People might not want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Their
They did
property.
ask the same for the people that own historic houses. They're listed,
That's true.
but they're not listed by name, they're I don't know.
By address
But
only.
it could not be, and I talked to the Ag Commission in town,
Mhm.
and, there's no there was just no way that we could get it done, and it's an
Right, and
urgent
it's- yeah.
thing, so we took
We
a
don't wanna
stab
hold them
at
up.
it.
We don't
and
wanna hold them up.
That's it. So, I think we've actually done all we can do tonight. Is that, anybody else have other,
I don't think so.
I do recall I had sent you, Christina, an email, totally forgot what that was, that we should announce it today. It's okay, I may end up doing it. I know we had some stuff for the Triple E, and I had sent something to Christina requesting that she, and I didn't bring my computer with me. I can bring it up the next, in our next meeting. I thought it was fairly important component for us to just publicly announce it, but that's okay. We'll do it next time around.
we do have a meeting coming up, our next meeting is November 20th.
Oh, yeah, then I can do it then.
And, I know what it was probably, which is Bill Murray agreed, you'll remember maybe, I don't remember when he said this, but months ago, that he would go through our subdivision rules and regulations and update them.
Yes.
So he is gonna come, November, so we're gonna set aside a big chunk for him.
Okay.
Because you need some lead time. I think subdivision rules and regulations, they're not zoning changes, so I've gotta look at that. They don't have to go to town meeting, I don't think.
We'll
But
have to check,
I have to check that, I have to check the process.
okay?
But the first is to bring it up to date, is what he said. There's a lot of things that are really out of date. So, and we're still looking at rules and regulations, possibly putting some of those in place. And we're also trying to read through for clerical errors and things that need to be omitted and corrected. And then we will have that benchmark meeting coming up, so. And some of these people that didn't show today, Schmidt and,
They'll be at the next one.
I guess it's probably just Schmidt, wants to come in next time, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. I read some interesting things. I think Mr. Schmidt has gone to a number of surrounding towns
Oh,
to take his ideas. And I
Interesting.
thought it's kind of interesting, he wants to do this discussion here also. So. we'll
well,
probably have some-
my view is you listen to people
Absolutely,
and,
see what they have to present.
cause you really don't have to make any, you really can't make any decisions until they present something,
Absolutely.
so.
No, it's just that his name has come across in newspaper articles, in other towns.
Yeah, he makes no secret that they have other.
Yeah.
So Craig, we did a few things in your absence, nothing too important. I guess I shouldn't say that, everything's important.
Yes.
But, we took action on, because there were still three of us and we were trying to,
Yeah, no,
we,
I said
we-
continue on as I walked out.
basically, we did that benchmarking.
Yeah.
And we agreed that we would pick the towns written in yellow.
Yep.
As towns that we as the planning board think Hubbardston should strive to look like and be like, and as our reference group.
Looks good to
Okay.
me.
So I think we're done and we can take a motion to adjourn unless
And
anybody,
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
any,
Second.
okay, it's not debatable. All in favor? Aye.